Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you read the title, and I was right. And it feels good to be right sometimes. So the time has come once again for me to be the adult in the room, but it doesn't look like I actually have to really be the adult in the room this time. MaxTech put out a video recently where they ran the new M2 Ultra Max Studio through all of their regular intense synthetic benchmark scenarios, and they could not get it to thermal throttle. And by doing that, they proved me right with my reasoning behind why the methodology they're using is ridiculous on some of the computers they've run it on. So if you're not caught up on the lore, I'll link all the videos down below if you want to watch them in their entirety, but I'll do a little bit of a summary here to catch you up on why I'm making a video saying that I'm right when MaxTech could not get a Mac Studio to thermal throttle. So let's dive in. So back when Apple released the M2 chip and put it into the redesigned MacBook Air and the not redesigned MacBook Air and Pro, a lot of YouTubers went out and bought those computers and then ran them through a ton of synthetic benchmarks until those computers overheated and thermal throttled, and then talked about why that was a problem with those computers, and I took issue with that. See, my biggest argument in those videos was that the computers that they were running these synthetic benchmarks on were never actually going to see those scenarios in real life unless somebody actively went out and tried to make those scenarios happen. Because when you buy something like a MacBook Air, whether it be the redesigned or not redesigned model, chances are you are somebody with a little extra money to spend who is looking for a Mac with a great display, decent keyboard, good build quality, and a long-lasting computer software support life, and you're going to get it for something like college, where you're going to be browsing the web, you might be touching up some photos from your iPhone in the Photos app, maybe you'll be editing some videos in iMovie, but you're not going to be rendering 10 minutes of 8K footage that's pulled straight out of a Canon camera in its raw format. You're not going to be doing that on a computer like that, and if you are, then, well, you bought the wrong product. Let me refer back to myself with this portion. Every single machine, every single thing ever made has a task that it is good at, and a group of tasks, in a lot of cases with computers, that they are good at, and then they have things that they were never engineered to do. If you are buying a trailer, you're gonna wanna get a truck to tow it. You're not gonna buy a freaking Fiat 500 to try to tow a trailer. And if you do, you bought the wrong car, because there's a lot of options available that all do different things, and you can research what does what. If you buy a MacBook Air to do 3D rendering and you watch videos of people buying these computers to blast them with stress tests, and then you buy one and say, oh, it's slow, the battery dies, and it's hot, you bought the wrong machine. So generally, my issue with the methodology was that these computers were being put into scenarios that they would never realistically see. And that was what was causing them to thermal throttle. And of course, one of the ones that really rubbed me the wrong way was Luke Miani taking one of these MacBook Airs onto his apartment's roof in the summer and just running the computer on a Cinebench loop until it overheated in the sun in the summer on the roof. And I have no problem with these YouTubers. In fact, Luke Miani started by doing exactly what I love doing, which is tearing apart old computers and making them work in the modern day. And MaxTech, their breakdowns and teardowns of these computers, showing the insides of them, they're great. I have no problem with these YouTubers. But their methodology was what really rubbed me the wrong way with these original videos I made. My point with those videos was that generally the methodology was flawed because they were taking computers that were not ever designed for those scenarios and putting them in scenarios that they would never see in their regular day-to-day. And it would affect the end user because a lot of non-techie end users who might be in the market to buy a MacBook Air or even the base model MacBook Pro are generally going to consult somebody who's a little more techie, and that techie person may not be as knowledgeable as they think they are, watch one of these videos, see that the MacBook Air with no fan is bad for thermals, and then tell the not-so-techie family member to not buy the MacBook Air, even though that computer would completely suit their needs, because it would never see the scenario that was portrayed in the video. That was my issue. But one of the things that I wanted to make clear in those videos was that if you are looking to buy a computer that was going to be in those scenarios, you needed to do the research and buy the right tool for the job. And one of the examples I gave was my Mac Studio, where I have put that thing through hell and back and never had thermal issues. And the MacBook Pros arguably are the same way, not the one that should have died long ago, but the new M2 Pro and M2 Max MacBook Pros, the 14 and 16 inch. Those are tools that are designed to do that kind of workflow with little to no thermal issues. And now we're all caught up and onto the video that was recently released. Because the video that was recently released was about the new Mac Studio with the M2 Ultra chip. And of course it was put through every single one of the same benchmarks that MaxTech uses, and it didn't thermal throttle. How about that? See, because here's the thing, when I make a video taking issue with a MacBook Air being forced to render out 5+ minutes of raw Canon 8K footage, or 500 plus photos being imported or exported from Lightroom, I take issue with that because those are scenarios that computer should realistically never see based on the market it is being aimed at. But when you're doing it with a $4,000 computer that is aimed squarely at professionals who want a small, super powerful, efficient system, in my case hung under the desk, but for a lot of people sitting on their desk, I don't take issue with that workflow because that is a workflow that computer could conceivably see in one field or another. See, because the target market for the Mac Studio is in the name. Studio, photography studio, VFX studio, editing studio, color grading studio. If it's a studio, it is conceivable that this Mac will find its way into them if they are mainly an Apple software house. However, if you think that you're going to find an M2-based 8GB of RAM having 256 gigs of storage using M2 MacBook Air in one of those studios, you're high as a kite. Because in my opinion, the Mac Studio is what the Mac Pro was. Because back in 2009 through 2012, when the Mac Pro was still a cheese grater desktop and not the trash can, it sat in this weird middle ground where it was priced in a way that enthusiasts could buy it at its base or even middle configuration and get a ton out of it for the price, but it could be configured either separately or through Apple to meet the needs of some of the most demanding production houses. And because of that, people loved that computer. Now look at the Mac Studio. You can get an M2 Max Mac Studio with the binned M2 Max chip for $2,000, and that gives you 32 gigabytes of extraordinarily fast RAM and 512 gigs of storage. And that configuration is great. I have the base model M1 Max chip, and you can check out my video over there. That thing is incredible. I've been using it for a year. No issues, but you can get that. And that is completely reasonable in terms of pricing for most people who have a little bit more to spend on a desktop computer. And that configuration is more than capable of 4K work. I use it for 4K work. You can do 8K. I've done 8K. I've done 12K with it through Blackmagic, and it is impressive what it can handle. It is amazing for $2,000, but if you need more, whether it be in graphics, storage, or memory, you can configure it up, and you can go all the way to the M2 Max, and that little chassis and that incredible cooler is all designed for that. So to get back to what I said at the start of the video, I was right. If you take benchmarks that are designed to simulate the most extreme workflows and you throw them at a computer that was designed to handle those most extreme workflows, you're not going to have any thermal issues and the system will handle perfectly. But if you take a computer like the MacBook Air that was designed for your son or you personally to browse the web, write some documents, edit some photos in the Photos app, and maybe cut some videos together in iMovie, you throw it at one of those machines, it's going to thermal throttle because it was never in a million years designed for the kind of work that a Mac Studio would run. It's like taking your little Seat to the drag strip when everyone else is bringing their pro stock Mustangs. Look, I'm a car guy. Those are just the analogies I use. But my point is that if you want to get a computer that is going to have to do heavy 3D work, video rendering, photo work, all that kind of stuff on a regular basis and for long periods of time, you're going to want to make sure that the computer you're looking to buy can do that. But on the flip side, if you're never going to do those things and you buy a computer that doesn't really do those things very well because it was never made for it, you can't expect it to suddenly do that without repercussions like thermal throttling. You buy what you need for the time and the future. You don't buy less than what you need, because then you're going to ask for issues. And I feel like that's something that should really just generally be known, but I have to say it out loud anyway because videos like this still exist. And one more thing, I also like the fact that they kind of acknowledged that people like me were making videos like this.
We're gonna do the craziest test ever, our 8K Canon RAW to 4K export, which you guys gave us crap for before for running on a MacBook Air, the M2, which totally destroyed it, made it throttle.
Look man, nothing but respect for you all on your channel, but the videos where you thermal throttle machines that were never meant to do the work you're making them do is a little ridiculous. But either way, that's it. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Maybe as these new computers start coming out, I don't have to be the adult in the room, but I kind of doubt it. At least I get a bit of a break because the two most recent Macs to drop were professional grade and are going to have a ton of cooling. So probably won't have to make another one of these for a while. But if you do enjoy videos like this, including a video coming up soon where I talk about the newest version of watchOS that I've been beta testing now, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss that. Also, let me know what you all think in the comments about the kind of videos that I've talked about. And again, in the description, I've left all the videos leading up to this video. Hopefully you go check those out. And of course, I hope to see you all in the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one.